Hi there everyone, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the 1500 point battle report between the forces of the Ultramarines and the Chaos Space Marines. As I continue to wait for my Leviathan box to show up with all of the actual hard copy rules and the mission pack, we are going to be doing another custom game today between the loyal and traitorous Marines of the Ultramarines and Sons of Sey'tan. So what we have going today is a custom mission, like I just said, with 6 objective markers in mirrored positions. So there are 1 in each table quarter, and then these 2 in no man's land. Instead of this being a hold 1, hold 2, hold more, or some other usual primary mission where they have to hold a certain number of objectives, this is going to be wild card objectives for the game. So at the beginning of the game, we are not going to know what these objectives are worth. And at the end of battle round 2, I'm going to roll a d6 for each of the objectives. And that will be the number of points that each objective is worth. So it could be that the Ultramarines have a 6-point objective that they really desperately want to hang on to, or the ones in the middle could both be worth 5 points, and it'll devolve into a slugfest in the middle to get the most points there. We will have to wait and see. Other than that, trying to keep the mission simple, since I'm still introducing myself to 10th edition. So that's it for the mission. No other primary or secondary scoring to worry about. For terrain, all the ruins that you see will act as ruins, so obscuring and light cover for, or give the benefits of cover, still using 9th edition terms in 10th edition, for all the units on the table. So now, speaking of units on the table, let's take a look at the armies. We're just going to go left to right as I see in the Ultramarines deployment. We have our Storm Speeder right over here, equipped with the triple multi-gun and the missile launchers on top. Next up, supplying some speed to this flank of the force, we have a Outrider squad with an ATV equipped with multi-melta attached to it. Behind them, we have our Primaris Librarian equipped with a 10-man Hellblaster squad. Then, kind of forming the heart of the army, we have 3 Blade Guard veterans. We have 5 Intercessors with our Primaris Captain attached, and 3 Bolt Storm Gauntlet aggressors. 5-man Infiltrator squad have infiltrated up here in the beginning of the game. We have a 5-man Intercessor squad here on the home objective for the Ultramarines, also screening out some Deep Strikers from the Chaos Space Marines. We have our Gladiator with the Sponson Multi-Meltas and the Las Talon up top. And then finally, over here, infiltrating into no man's a little bit to start on this objective is another 5-man Infiltrator squad. No upgrades for the Ultramarines, just because I was able to get it to exactly 1500 points, so I didn't have the points, and still trying to keep it simple for me. Those are the Loyalist Space Marines, and facing them are the Chaos Space Marines of my custom chapter, the Sons of Sey'tan. So again, going left to right, we have our Accursed Cultist unit, flanking with the Mauler Fiend right over here. We have a Chaos Rhino right over here with Combi Bolter and the Havoc Launcher. Inside is going to be a 10-man squad of Legionnaires with pistols, chain swords, and an icon. And then the leader of the unit will be this guy who's currently on the Land Raider with a plasma pistol. Trying to keep it what you see is what you get for them. On the home field objective, we have our 10-man cultist squad. Then we have some of our HQs. We have a simple Chaos Lord using the Cypher model attached to a 10-man squad of Legionnaires with an icon, autocannon, and plasma gun. Behind them, we have our Demon Prince with wings with the sword. Then we've got a Defiler and another 5-man Legionnaire squad right here, hiding behind this building. Finally, in Deep Strike, we have a 5-man squad of Warp Talons. For marks, I'm going to again try to keep it simple for myself so that I can keep it in my mind while I play 2 armies and record the game. Everybody's going to have the mark of Chaos Undivided, except for the squad of Legionnaires with pistols and chainswords and the Warp Talons. Each of them I am going to give the mark of Khorne, since they're going to be dedicated to close combat. Figured that would provide them with a bit more benefit than just your average mark of Chaos Undivided. So, with the armies gone over, let's take a look into the roll-off and start the game. Again, each of the armies are going to want to grab as many objectives as they can early, but we're not going to know what the scores on the doors are going to be until the end of the game. And at the end of round 2, we'll see what each objective is worth. So, Space Marines with the blue die, Chaos Space Marines with the red die. Will start us off with Chaos Space Marines, turn 1. In turn 1 with the Chaos Space Marines, we have moved and advanced up with the army. So we advanced up with the Accursed Cultists, just keeping on the side of this ruin's footprint, so that they are going to be out of line of sight for a lot more shooting from the Ultramarines. Smaller Fiends also followed them to continue securing this flank. Then the Rhino has just moved up towards the middle of the battlefield with this Legionnaire squad behind. Decided to keep it pretty reserved with the Demon Prince, so just hiding behind this ruin again, while the Defiler moved up his 8 inches towards this line of fire to get some shots down onto perhaps the Outriders or Hellblasters. And then finally, that squad of Legionnaires just advanced up to take that No Man's Land objective. So that's it for the movement phase. We also have nothing to do in the command phase. So we'll move right on to a pretty quick shooting phase. We're going to start off with the Rhino, putting everything that it's got into this 5-man infiltrator squad just to start chipping them away. So we're going to start off with a D6 plus 1 shot from the Havoc Launcher. So a total of 3 shots on 3s. Not going to do any Dark Pacts here. Strength 5, Toughness 4, 1 wound at no AP. Will bring them to a 3-up save, since cover can't improve your save beyond a 3-up. And then 4 shots from the Combi Bolter. Just the 2. And another 1 wound at no AP. Will be a complete whiff from the Rhino. Next up, we're going to keep shooting into those infiltrators with this squad of Legionnaires. I'm going to start us off with the Havoc autocannon here. And I feel like it's a little too early to start going with the Dark Pacts. So we're just going to go with the regular 2 shots here on 3s. And then Strength 9, Toughness 4, so 2s to wound. 2 wounds at minus 1 AP. But since we are getting the benefit of cover, that'll essentially undo the 1 AP that it gives us, so we'll stay at a 3-up. Make 1, fail 1, and the Havoc autocannon is 3 wounds. So this will probably be the best chance to save an infiltrator, so we'll actually reroll that and make it. So that'll use our 1 CP, but that'll be the only big weapon from that squad that has line of sight. Done. Then we'll just do all the bolt guns into those infiltrators on 3s. I do find it interesting looking at his sheet that the Chaos Lord doesn't really give this squad any buffs, like it doesn't give them reroll 1s or sustained hits, so just no real benefits to having a Chaos Lord attached to this unit that I can see so far. The 4 wounds from the bolt gun at no AP. That will take a single wound off of him. And then finally it will be the plasma gunner with a miss. Thankfully I did not overcharge. So 1 wound done on 1 infiltrator at the cost of a CP for the Marines. So not a bad trade-off there for our opening volleys. The only other unit that can shoot is the Defiler. So after trying to figure out what would be my best unit to shoot at, I'm going to put everything that the Defiler has into the Outrider squad with the attached ATV. Just figuring that while the Hellblasters are probably going to be a problem for him and the Rhino in this upcoming first turn, if I can take away some speed, that'll hopefully take away some utility that the Ultramarines have regardless. So we're going to start with the Defiler cannon. So this is D6 plus 3 blast, so it'll just be the D6 plus 3 for a total of 6 shots. We will make a Dark Pact here with the Defiler. So I'm going to go with lethal hits. So any 6s will automatically wound. So 6 shots on 3s. No 3s there, unfortunately. And then the cannon, strength 10, toughness 5. So 2s to wound. That'll take 2 of them. Or that'll take 4 of them at minus 1 AP. So this will be 4 up saves. Make 1, fail 3. And that is 3 damage a time. So I will... I'm going to actually soak all of those up on the ATV. The ATV will be destroyed from that. And then the Reaper autocannon, which already has sustained hits 1. So that 6 will automatically go through to wound and will generate an additional hit. And then strength 7, toughness 5 will be 3 wounds right there. So 3 wounds at another minus 1 AP for 4 ups. Save 1, take another 2, so that'll be 2 damage taken onto one of the Outriders. So, with an Outrider half dead and the ATV removed, just need to take the leadership test, and with double 1s, that will not do it. So that will take him 3 mortal wounds. So, bring him down from 14 to 11 as we end the shooting phase. No chargers that we can declare, so that will also be turn 1 for the Chaos Space Marines. Now let's see how the Ultramarines respond. Turn 1 for the Space Marines. We are here in the command phase. So 2 things that I wanted to do in the command phase. I want to show you that the Oath of Moment target has been put onto the Defiler. So since he is going to be lined up with the Hellblasters and the Storm Speeder, figured this will be a good place to do my opening salvo and take down one of the big vehicles. And I'm also going to declare that in turn 1, I will be in the Devastator Doctrine. So I will be able to advance and shoot with everybody in the army. Just wanted to show the command phase before we got to movement. So now we will move forward, advancing pretty much with the whole army, while we go on to try to take out as many of these Chaos Space Marines as possible. We've used our advance and shoot to the best of our ability, moving on up with just about everything. So the Outriders and the Storm Speeder are danger close to the Defiler and the Demon Prince. They are probably going to essentially act like our Distraction Carnifexes for this upcoming turn to make sure that I give them clear options to charge and fight back into. Then the Hellblasters have advanced to follow them in the back, while this chunk of Marines with the Blade Guard and Aggressors have slowly advanced up, only getting a 1 on the Aggressors. The Blade Guard and the Intercessor Squad advances, so they were pretty slow on that flank. And just repositioning a little bit further up the board with the Gladiator to aim down sights at the Rhino and set up a good potential overwatch against the Mauler Fiend in turn 2. The backfield objective holders didn't move anywhere since no real need. They're good where they are, holding those objectives and screening out the deep strike for the Warp Talons. So now we are good to go to the shooting phase. We're going to start off with probably the heaviest guns that I can reach out into the Defiler, since he is target priority number 1 right now. I'm going to start off with the Storm Speeder Hammer Strike into him with the Melta Destroyer first. 3 attacks on 3s. All of those will hit. And then Strength 9, Toughness 10 for a Defiler, so 5s. Rerolling my wounds thanks to Oath of Moment. Just the 1, unfortunately. However, this will be at AP -4, so it'll bring him right up to a 5-up invuln save. Will not make it, and I do have 2 CP for the Chaos Space Marines, but I think I'm probably going to not need, or not be able to keep the Defiler alive anyway, so I will let that through for D6 plus 2 damage. For a total of 5. Bring the Defiler down to 6. Then we can move on to the Hammer Strike Missile Launcher. 2 attacks on 3s. Rerolling thanks to Oath. And then Strength 9. Rerolling to Wound. Nothing there. Then the Crack Storm Grenade Launcher. What do I have? Yes, I have 2 Crack Storm Grenade Launchers. So that'll be 2 shots. 2 hits. And then 5s to wound again. Nothing there. So it's actually just the Melta Destroyer that wounds the Defiler, bringing him down to 6 out of his 14 wounds remaining. Next up, to follow after the Hammer Strike, I'm going to do the Hellblaster Squad and their Primaris Librarian Attaché into the Defiler. I'm going to not overcharge, or not supercharge, the Plasma Incinerators, and also going to just do the regular smite from the Librarian. Just trying to make sure that I keep these guys alive as possible as a second wave defense against any other big targets that the Chaos Space Marines have. So we are going to have 20 shots from the Plasma Incinerators on 3s. Rerolling. And then 19 hits wounding on 5s, rerolling. For a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wounds at AP -2. So 5 ups either way. Ooh, so good saves there for the Defiler. So that'll bring him down to, or down 4 wounds, bringing him down to 2 remaining. And then finally the Librarian with his Smite. D6 attacks, 3 attacks, on 3s, re-rolling. Strength 5, toughness 10, so 6s, re-rolling. 1 at AP -1, so a 4-up save will make it there. So the Defiler is still alive with 2 wounds remaining. So the Outriders also open-fired with their bolt rifles into the Defiler just to try to plink some of its last wounds off. Unfortunately, it saved the 1 wound that actually got through. Looks like that one might be able to survive on 2 wounds remaining. So crippled, but not dead, unfortunately. Next up, we're going to go with the rest of the heavy guns in the Gladiator Valiant. Everything it's got is going to go into the Rhino. And at this point, I think the safe thing to do is pop smoke for the Rhino, bringing the Chaos Space Marines down to 1 CP. So with smoke popped from the Rhino, I'm going to as well pop a stratagem for the Ultramarines. So I'm going to do their Storm of Fire. So this is going to ignore the cover that the smoke just gave them, and because I'm in Devastator Doctrine, give me an additional AP. So ignoring cover is probably the biggest benefit here, but the additional AP will also mean that the AP3 on the Twin Labs Talon will go to AP4 and go right through the Rhino's 6-up save. So just trying to be as efficient as I can and kind of plan off myself with a couple of different stratagems to show you what's what. Speaking of the Twin Labs Cannon, I suppose I will start with that into the Rhino. So 2 attacks on 3s. And then Strength 10, Toughness 9. Wounding on 3s. It is naturally twin linked, so I already get to re-roll my hits, or my wounds rather. That'll be -4 AP going right on through to be 2d6 plus 2 damage for 9, 10, 11 wounds, taking the Chaos Rhino out. And does he explode with his D3 Deadly Demise? He does not. So the Mark of Khorne squad was able to disembark without any mortal wounds being inflicted. However, unfortunately, they are now going to face quite the shooting gallery from a lot of the Space Marines. So we're going to start off with the aggressors. Rolled the D6 shots from their Frag Storm grenade launchers off camera, getting 14. This is going to be a total of 23 Strength 4 AP -1 shots. The AP -1 comes from their close quarters firepower ability to give an additional AP if I'm firing at the closest enemy. So we are going to be looking at, looking at the ranged profiles. I do need to roll these separately since the auto bolt storm gauntlets are twin linked. And we roll their wounds, but not the grenade launchers. So I'll start with the grenade launchers, taking out all those 1s and 2s. And then Strength 4, wounding on 4s. Just 2 wounds, actually, so no AP. Makes it there. And then 9 attacks from the gauntlets. Again, on 3s. Not re-rolling my hits, but 4s. Re-rolling will get me a total of 5 AP1. attacks. So make 1, 2, fail 1.5, so that'll be 1.5 dead. We'll do 1 there, and I do remember now that I have an additional AP, so those 3s on the saves for the grenade launchers would have been 2 more wounds, so that'll be 2.5 killed. Next up for shots will be the 5-man infiltrator squad into this Mark of Khorne squad. Those will be 10 shots, hitting on 2s, since their bulk carabines are heavy. So hitting on 2s, but wow, half of the hits were 1s when I only needed 2s to hit. So that's great. Then forced wound. Wow, just 1 wound at no AP will be nothing there. So that'll be the infiltrators done. And actually, for the last shots, will be 3 of these intercessors that are able to kind of peek around this corner and fire into this Mark of Khorne squad. So, those get full hits. And then forced wound. Just 2 wounds at no AP. Make both of those, so that will be the intercessors done firing, and with that, the shooting phase will also be done. In terms of chargers, nothing is able to charge since I did shoot in advance. So that is going to do it for the turn. So definitely a good toll. We got the Defiler almost killed, got the Rhino taken off, and 2 of the close combat Legionnaires are gone. So we will have to see how we can fare in turn 2 for the Chaos Space Marines. Turn 2 for the Chaos Space Marines. You join us halfway through the movement phase. In the command phase, the only thing that happened was the Defiler had 1 CP spent on Skin Shift to bring them up 3 wounds up to 5. And I also failed my Battle Shock test, so he is not going to be able to have... Ooh, or actually... Looking at the command phase steps, 1 is you gain 1 CP, and I already had 1 CP to spend on the Skin Shift stratagem anyway, and then Battle Shock happens. And I think when it says you can do... resolve any rules that you could do in the command phase, that is when you would use command phase stratagem. So very interestingly, I think this is a definitely good interpretation, or at least I think the correct good interpretation for CSM players, meaning that we can skin shift and then check for Battle Shock, and even if we fail, we still will get the wounds, and if we're Markov, Tzeentch get an additional model back. So I think I'm playing that correctly. If not, it's totally possible. Please feel free to correct me in the comments, but that's the only thing that happened in the command phase, since the file was the only thing that needed to test for Battle Shock. We've also started to move up a bit, so the Accursed Cultists have advanced, so they are getting danger close to this squad of infiltrators. And the Mauler Fiend has moved his 8 inches up right here into danger close, which triggered 1 CP being spent for Overwatch on the Gladiator. So that's a long walk to say that I'm going to be Overwatching with the Gladiator. Starting off with the Twin Las Cannons, or Twin Las Talon rather. And then the 4 shots from my multi-multas will be nothing there. And do I have anything else default? I do not. I don't have anything else modeled on the tank, so I'm not going to play it like I have anything else. So that is 1 CP kind of wasted for the Ultramarines, and 1 CP spent for the Chaos Space Marines as we continue through movement. So, the rest of the movement phase progressed. We are moving up with everybody. So the Mark of Corn squad has moved on forward to continue holding or charging through the middle of the battlefield. The squad with the Lord in it has simply moved up towards the middle, while the Demon Prince has landed right on over here to challenge the Outriders. And the Defiler is ready to start trying to take down the Storm Speeder. I also dropped the Warp Talons in the backfield, ready to threaten either these Intercessors or the Hellblaster squad as I see fit. Speaking of as I see fit to use a cool CP, or cool stratagem rather, by spending a CP on grenades. I'm going to have the Mark of Corn squad throw grenades at the aggressors, just to try to soften them up, basically guarantee that the Mauler Fiend is going to be able to take them down. So 66, each 4-up is a mortal wound. So that is 5 mortal wounds onto the aggressors for 1 CP. Yikes. Seeing that I was able to kill almost 2/3 of the aggressor squad, I'm going to pivot tactics a little bit here. I'm going to go with the squad with the Chaos Lord inside of it. I'm going to use his ability to, once per battle round, use a CP on his squad for 0 CP to do Profane Zeal. So that will be rerolling hits and wounds thanks to them being Chaos Undivided. So I'm going to also make a Dark Pact with them to get sustained hits 1. And I am going to fire everything that this squad's got into the aggressors. So I'm going to start with the Chaos Lord's Plasma Pistol. And I do have 1 on 2 wounds, or 1 wound remaining, so no need to overcharge here. So 1 shot from his Plasma Pistol on a 1, so that'll be a miss, but thankfully, because of Profane Zeal, we're rolling hits and wounds for another 1. Then we will start with, let's see, I don't want to, yeah, I'll save the Havoc autocannon for later, so we will do the Plasma Gunner, not overcharging, and on a 3 to wound, makes it to wound, and then a 5-up save will not do it. So that'll take 1 of the aggressors out. Then the Havoc autocannon, so 2 attacks on 3s rerolling. Strength 9, toughness 6, so 3s to wound. Ooh, snake eyes there. And nothing there, so can't do there. Oop, but because of Legionaries, Veterans of the Long War, each animal in this unit targets an enemy unit with a melee attack. Never mind. So, nothing there. And then we will do the rest of their shots with the bolt weapons. Alright, so rolled through the rest of the bolt weapons, and I got 7 wounds from the bolt weapons. Also double checked, and the reason I used it, Profane Zeal, I can reroll hit and wounds. So I also rerolled the wounds for the Havoc autocannon. So I can proceed to drop a die. So these will be 4-up saves. And it doesn't matter about the bolt rifles or bolt weapons, but let's see, just for sake of argument, he would have lived, but I do, in fact, get the aggressor down with the pretty buffed up squad. And now the save, or the leadership test for making my Dark Pact. Makes it with a 7, and I could have rerolled that because of the Chaos icon on this dude up front, but no need. Next up in the shooting phase, I'm going with the Demon Prince into the Outrider squad. However, I see Demonic Allegiance on his paper, so checking it, I don't think there's anywhere that says I have to give him one of the 4 Chaos Gods' marks, so I have to give Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh, but it doesn't say anything about what if he's a Demon Prince of Chaos Undivided, so I think that means he has to have one, or at least that's how I would interpret that rule. So how I'm going to rule this is, at this point, I'm going to roll a d3 between Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle, because their blessings wouldn't have come up. Had he been Slaanesh, it would have mattered, since all I've done so far is move him. So on a 1 or a 2, he's Khorne. 3 or 4, he's Tzeentch. 5 or 6, he's Nurgle. Alright, so he is Khorne. That's pretty easy. So +2 strength characteristic to its melee weapon. So pretty convenient there. Kind of wanted that one anyway. As I try to... whatever. I'll fix the tiles later. So we will go with the 3 attacks from the Infernal Cannon into the Outriders. So 3 attacks on 2s. And now no sense in making his Dark Pact in the shooting phase, since I know he's Khorne now. Strength 5, Toughness 5, so Force to Wound. Just the 1 at -1 AP for a 4-up. He will make it. So that means that the last shooting is my Defiler. So we'll start off with the Defiler. So he is still barely bracketed, because he's on 1 to 5 wounds remaining, so -1 to hit. We'll still start off with the Defiler Cannon. Everything's going into that Storm Speeder right in front of him for a total of 8 shots. On 4s, and yeah, we might as well. I'll make a Dark Pact to get, we'll get lethal hits here. Ooh, good thing I did. So take all these out. Those 3 will go right on to wounding. Strength 10, toughness 9, so 3 is to wound. For another one, for AP -1 attacks. So 4-up saves. Make 1, 2, fail 2. 3 damage a time. Will take 6 wounds off of him, bringing the Land Speeder down to 5. Then we'll do the Reaper Autocannon. So 4 attacks on 4s. And then this one will go right on through to wound, thanks to my Dark Pact. So 1 at -1 AP, so a 4-up. Will be another wound taken, and will be another 1 damage. And that 6 to wound would have been a sustained hit, since the autocannon automatically has sustained hits, but we don't matter there. Then do I make my Dark Pact here, so 6-up. Just barely makes it. Good. In the charge phase, we've gone ahead and done the chargers that were definitely not going to fail. I was able to get the big 10 with the Mark of Khorne squad as well, so they were able to pile in pretty well. The kind of awkward shape of the ruin and having to not stand on top of the objective is going to mean some of them aren't in melee. But alas, the Mark of Khorne, Demon Prince, and the Defiler have also gone into their intended targets. So now we are going to do the 2 chargers that I feel like I need to do on camera. So the Mauler Fiend now is going to go in and charge the Blade Guard veterans. With an 8, that will definitely make it in for him. And then the Warp Talons, while they are probably going to more successfully kill the Intercessors, I want to try to tie up the Hellblasters as well. So I'm going to have the Hellblasters get charged by the Warp Talons, needing a 9. and not making it with a 5 and no CP there to reroll. So they will kind of be stuck out in the middle of nowhere, but at the very least they'll soak up fire that isn't going to go into the rest of the squad. Just because I've already got the cards up in front of me, I'm going to start with the Defiler into the Storm Speeder. So I'm going to have my 5 attacks with the Defiler Claws. And I'm going to go with a Dark Pact this time for sustained hits 1. So 5 attacks on 4s. So very, very glad I made my Dark Pact. So that will be 8 hits out of 5 attacks. Strength 16, toughness 9, so 3s to wound. Ooh, drop it a little bit there in the wounds, but that's alright. It's -3, so 6 up saves. Make 1, fail 2. This will be 2d6 plus 2. So unless I get Snake Eyes, this is the Storm Speeder down. I do not. That is 10 wounds taken on to the Hammer Strike. Does he blow up? He does not. And then my leadership save will make it. Next up, we're going to do the Mark of Khorne Demon Prince into the Outriders, and we are going to make our Dark Pact for lethal hits on 5, since I'm Mark of Khorne, using the Strike profile. Oh, and let's see, looking at his abilities, Demonic Destruction. So he's entered a charge, move, select one enemy unit within engagement range of it, and roll 1d6 for each of these models' remaining wounds. So he is on full wounds, so 10 wounds remaining, so 10d6. And on a 4-up, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6. So, whoop, looks like it's going to be the opposite of the mortal wounds from the grenade strat. So 1 mortal wound as I go in. That'll bring one of them down to 1 wound. Great. And then back to the main attraction, the Hellfor's Sword. 2 of them will go right on through to wound. 1 misses. And then 1 on strength 8, toughness 5, so 3s to wound on these. He'll be great. So that'll be 5 at -2 AP. So 5 up saves. Make 1, and this is 3 damage a time. So that'll kill the first one on 1 wound remaining. Kill a second biker, and then bring the final one down to 1 wound. Next up in the fight phase, 6 out of the 8 Mark of Khorne squad can fight into the Infiltrators. We're going to make our Dark Pact with lethal hits on 5-ups, thanks to being Mark of Khorne again. So we are looking at 24 attacks on 3s. And then 5s and 6s will automatically go through to wounds. So that's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 of them automatically go through to wound. And taking out 1s and 2s. The rest of these will be 4s. Re-rolling because the Infiltrators are on an objective marker. Re-rolling. So we have all of these at -1 AP. So this is going to be a whole bunch of 4-up saves. I think this might be the squad. Next up in the fight phase, 6 out of the 8 Mark of Khorne squad can fight into the Infiltrators. We're going to make our Dark Pact with lethal hits on 5-ups, thanks to being Mark of Khorne again. So we are looking at 24 attacks on 3s. And then 5s and 6s will automatically go through to wounds. So that's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 of them automatically go through to wound. And taking out 1s and 2s. The rest of these will be 4s. Re-rolling because the infiltrators are on an objective marker. Re-rolling. So we have all of these at -1 AP. So this is going to be a whole bunch of 4-up saves. I think this might be the squad. Very surprisingly, I was actually able to keep one of the infiltrators alive, so probably not long for this world in the grand scheme of things, but he is still on the board, ready to hold up this Mark of Khorne squad. Then we move on to the final fight for the Chaos Space Marines with the Mauler Fiend, going into the Blade Guard veterans. They are going to use their Blade Guard ability to select shields of the Imperium. So they get reroll saves of 1 on their invuln save, which I think they are gonna need. Since we will be starting with the Mauler Fiend Fists. And I think, you know what? We'll go with exploding. Yeah, we'll go with sustained hits 1 for the Mauler Fiend. So 6 attacks here. Rerolling my 1s to hit since I'm Chaos Undivided and I made my pact. So that 2 will go out, but that 6 will give us a sustained hit. So strength 14 versus toughness 4. So 2s to wound. For 5 wounds with the fist at AP -2. 4-up invulnerable saves for the veterans. Thankfully, I'm rerolling my 1s. So that'll be 1 failed at d6 plus 1 damage for only 2 damage. So one of them will be wounded with a wound remaining. And then 6 attacks from my Lasher Tendrils. On 3s, rerolling 1s, and the 6 will get me an additional hit. Strength 7, toughness 4, so 3s to wound at -1 AP. We'll take these on the invuln so that I can reroll it. So 4s, rerolling my 1s. So thankfully that's not the opposite way, but that is going to be the 1 killed, and then a second one will be left on 1 wound remaining. Very surprisingly, I was actually able to keep one of the infiltrators alive, so probably not long for this world in the grand scheme of things, but he is still on the board, ready to hold up this Mark of Khorne squad. Then we move on to the final fight for the Chaos Space Marines with the Mauler Fiend, going into the Blade Guard veterans. They are going to use their Blade Guard ability to select shields of the Imperium. So they get reroll saves of 1 on their invuln save, which I think they are gonna need. Since we will be starting with the Mauler Fiend Fists. And I think, you know what? We'll go with exploding. Yeah, we'll go with sustained hits 1 for the Mauler Fiend. So 6 attacks here. Rerolling my 1s to hit since I'm Chaos Undivided and I made my pact. So that 2 will go out, but that 6 will give us a sustained hit. So strength 14 versus toughness 4, so 2s to wound for 5 wounds with the fist at AP -2. 4-up invulnerable saves for the veterans. Thankfully, I'm rerolling my ones. So that'll be 1 failed at d6 plus 1 damage for only 2 damage. So one of them will be wounded with a wound remaining. And then 6 attacks from my Lasher Tendrils on 3s, rerolling 1s, and the 6 will get me an additional hit. Strength 7, toughness 4, so 3s to wound at -1 AP. We'll take these on the invuln so that I can reroll it. So 4s, rerolling my 1s. So thankfully that's not the opposite way, but that is going to be the 1 killed, and then a second one will be left on 1 wound remaining. I did fail the leadership test for the Mauler Fiend from the Dark Pact, so he took the big 3 mortal wounds. And we are now done with all the attacks from the Chaos Space Marines, so now I'll go ahead and kind of work my way backwards through the remaining units. 8 attacks from the Blade Guard veterans into the Mauler Fiend. So 3 hits on 6s to wounds. Nothing there. The 1 infiltrator with 3 attacks on 3s. Alright, so pretty good there. Strength 4, toughness 4. So 2 wounds at no AP. Will not do any damage to the Mark of Khorne squad. And then finally the Outrider with 4 attacks from his Chainsword into the Demon Prince on 3s. And 6s to wound will do nothing there. So, big nothing dealt in close combat against the Chaos Space Marines, but now it goes to Ultramarines turn 2, and while we have lost some assets, I do still have a fair number of attacks and shots that I can do going into the Chaos Space Marines. I did fail the leadership test for the Mauler Fiend from the Dark Pact, so he took the big 3 mortal wounds. And we are now done with all the attacks from the Chaos Space Marines, so now I'll go ahead and kind of work my way backwards through the remaining units. 8 attacks from the Blade Guard veterans into the Mauler Fiend. So 3 hits on 6s to wounds. Nothing there. The 1 infiltrator with 3 attacks on 3s. Alright, so pretty good there. Strength 4, toughness 4. So 2 wounds at no AP. Will not do any damage to the Mark of Khorne squad. And then finally the Outrider with 4 attacks from his Chainsword into the Demon Prince on 3s. And 6s to wound will do nothing there. So, big nothing dealt in close combat against the Chaos Space Marines, but now it goes to Ultramarines turn 2, and while we have lost some assets, I do still have a fair number of attacks and shots that I can do going into the Chaos Space Marines. Turn 2 for the Space Marines, and in the command phase we both went up to 1 CP on both sides of the battlefield. And I have selected the Assault Doctrine for this turn, so I'm going to be able to fall back and charge. So mainly just so that the Blade Guard and the single Outrider are going to be able to help out and take down the Mark of Khorne squad here in the middle. Meanwhile, the Oath of Moment has been put on the Mauler Fiend to try to bring him down, while the Hellblasters have remained stilled to try to finish off the Defiler and maybe even start on the Demon Prince. But we are going to get straight off with the best shooting of the army. So we're going to go with the Twin Las Talon, the Gladiator, everything into the Mauler Fiend. So 2 shots from the Twin Las, re-rolling things to Oath. And then Strength 10, Toughness 10 for no wounds there, unfortunately. Then the Ultimaltas. Will be a full splay of hits. Then 4 hits on 4s, or 4 wounds. Just the 1 wound, really. And then on his 5-up invulnerable save, does not make it there. He can't die because it is d6 plus 2. So we will just hope for a high roll for the Space Marines. And a 7. That's about as good as we can hope for. So 2 wounds remaining on the Mauler Fiend. I was hoping that he would be dead, but alas, no. Turn 2 for the Space Marines, and in the command phase we both went up to 1 CP on both sides of the battlefield. And I have selected the Assault Doctrine for this turn, so I'm going to be able to fall back and charge. So mainly just so that the Blade Guard and the single Outrider are going to be able to help out and take down the Mark of Khorne squad here in the middle. Meanwhile, the Oath of Moment has been put on the Mauler Fiend to try to bring him down, while the Hellblasters have remained stilled to try to finish off the Defiler and maybe even start on the Demon Prince. But we are going to get straight off with the best shooting of the army. So we're going to go with the Twin Las Talon, the Gladiator, everything into the Mauler Fiend. So 2 shots from the Twin Las, re-rolling things to Oath. And then Strength 10, Toughness 10 for no wounds there, unfortunately. Then the Ultimaltas. Will be a full splay of hits. Then 4 hits on 4s, or 4 wounds. Just the 1 wound, really. And then on his 5-up invulnerable save, does not make it there. He can't die because it is d6 plus 2. So we will just hope for a high roll for the Space Marines. And a 7. That's about as good as we can hope for. So 2 wounds remaining on the Mauler Fiend. I was hoping that he would be dead, but alas, no. Next up in shooting is going to be the squad of intercessors with the attached captain. Using his ability to give that squad a CP or a stratagem for free, I'm going to go with Storm of Fire yet again, mainly for the ignoring cover aspect of the stratagem, so that these Legionnaires don't have as good of a save. So we are going to have 10 shots from their bolt rifles into them. So this will be on 3s. Because I did have to move, unfortunately, so I don't get the benefits of heavy. And then Strength 4, Toughness 4 will be 4 wounds at a -1 AP. And that'll be a 4-up save. Make 2 fail 2, so that'll be 1.5 dead. So So put you over there, and then that guy will be dead. I also did the captain's shots off camera, and he killed a single legionnaire out of that squad as well. So they are down to 6 out of their starting 10. Next up over here with the infiltrators, we're going to fire everything that we've got into these accursed cultists, mainly just to try to thin them down beyond how they can regenerate their lost models. So 10 shots on 2s, since I didn't move and they're heavy. That'll be 9 hits. And then strength 4, toughness 4. That'll be a total of 4 wounds at no AP. So we are just looking at a 6-up save. Make 1. And then a 6-up feel no pain. That will be 3 of them dead. So we'll just, I guess I didn't take these on things that are in cover, so I'll just take 1 of the torments off, but he'll just be put back in the command phase, so he won't be gone for long. Next up, this 5-man intercessor squad. Everything is going to go on into the 5-man Warp Talon squad. Luckily, these guys did stay still, so heavy will kick in and allow me to hit on 2s. And then 4s to wound. So for 4-up saves, just the 2 will kill 1 of the Warp Talons off of the squad. Finally, in the shooting phase, it's the Hellblaster's turn. And here is the plan with them. They are going to fire all of their plasma incinerators supercharged into the Defiler. The Librarian is going to do his focused Witchfire Smite into the Demon Prince. And then what I plan to do is, if there are any of the plasma gunners who die because of their hazardous tests, I'm going to have them shoot into the Demon Prince as well. So hoping to not only kill the Defiler, but also take some wounds off of the Demon Prince while I'm at it. Hellblaster squad also stood still, so this is all going to be hitting on 2s. And I see a single 1 in there. So this will be strength 8 and a toughness 10. So wounding on 5s. So we have a 1, 2, 3. Only 3 wounds there. Minus 3 AP will take us to a 5-up invuln save. Make 1, fail 2. 2 damage a time will bring the Defiler down to 1 wound remaining. Oh, Jesus, didn't even, unfortunate there. And then for the hazardous tests, 10 hazardous tests. That will be 1, 2, 3 of them dead. But on a 3-up, they'll get to fire again. So 2 of them will get to fire again. And 2 of them will also go into the Defiler again, since I really want to try to take this guy down. So 2s and 5s. Ooh, wow, these guys did better when they were dying than when they were alive. So 5-up saves, and he finally goes down. So 2 of the Hellblasters get their last laugh and kill the Defiler, who unfortunately does not. Deadly demise, but that is the Defiler off the table finally. Now my final chance with the Librarian. We are going to do D6 attacks from his Witchfire Smite. So just 1 attack. And that is not going to be enough, so we are going to spend our 1 CP for the Ultramarines to reroll that into a 3. So better at least. So 3 ups to hit. Ooh, just 1 hit. Strength 6, toughness 9, so looking for a 5. And nothing there. Hazardous test for the Psyker. Oh my god. So, a little less than ideal there. I was hoping that the Librarian would be able to actually do something to the Demon Prince, and that the Defiler would have gone down in the first array of plasma shots. But alas, looks like the Demon Prince is going to still be on the board for a little bit longer. So that's going to take us through the shooting phase into the charge phase. The lone Outrider, the lone Infiltrator, the 2 Blade Guard, and all these Intercessors are all going to charge on into the Mark of Khorne squad here in the middle to try to start reclaiming our grip of the battlefield. So, in the charge phase, everybody was able to make it into close combat with this squad of Mark of Khorne Marines. So we are kind of piled all which way through this building. So imagine that this guy is about right here, and then these 2 are kind of inside the walls, but my fingers just could not reach all the way through the models and into the walls to get them there, so a little bit of imagination there. Also considered charging in these Infiltrators over here to the Accursed Cultists, but unfortunately got a 7 when I needed an 8. So they are going to have to take the charge from that fully healed squad. And since there's nothing really else to threaten them right now, we'll just stand him back up, since I can put 1 Torment back in the unit. So in the fight phase, we are going to basically rip through these Mark of Khorne Marines with as much as we've got. So, after lots and lots of different activations, here's how we stand. 3 of the Legionnaires are still standing. They were able to kill the Outrider and 2 of the Intercessors. They did fail their morale test, or their leadership test for the Dark Pact, taking 2 mortal wounds. So one of them died because of the mortal wounds from their Dark Pact, and the other 2 were killed by the Blade Guard. So that is it for that close combat, and that's it for close combat in general. And that also wraps us up for turn 2. And at this point in the end of battle round 2, we will start to see what the values of each of the objectives are. So each of them is going to be worth a d6. So this might pretty significantly change the flow of the game here. Alrighty, wow, I could not have made this up. So the 2 objectives that are here in the middle are both worth 6 points. So it is definitely going to be a scrum for the middle. Both of the objectives that were in the deployment zone for each army are worth 2 points. And then finally, kind of the objectives that were easily expanded upon for each army are worth 5 points. So it is going to be a pretty big scuffle for the middle of the board. And those 2 objectives near the edges of the battlefield will have to be held onto as much as we can as we go into battle round 3. Turn 3 for the Chaos Space Marines, and seeing how the points are very, very weirdly symmetrically laid out, the plan is simple. Push the Ultramarines into this half of the board, make sure that they don't get either of the objectives in the back that I control or this one in the middle, and then take at least one of them by the end of the game, and we should be able to call it a victory. So with that in mind, the accursed cultists have moved on forward to finally leap upon these infiltrators they've been eyeing up all game. The Mauler Fiend has stayed still to not proc Overwatch on anybody. This combat's ongoing. Don't really think there's too much of a difference that I can make right there. While the Warp Talons and the Demon Prince are going to pounce on the Hellblaster and Librarian, since they're really the only ones that are in a position to cross the midline and threaten any of these objectives that I hold. I've also got these Legionnaires holding this home field, or this midland objective, so that I can solidly control a 6-point objective for the rest of the game, hopefully. So with that, we have moved. No stratagems were used, so we're up to 2 for the Chaos Space Marines and 1 for the Ultramarines as we move on to shooting. We're going to start it off with the Demon Prince with wings, his Infernal Cannon into the Hellblasters right in front of him. So 3 attacks on 2s. Not going to do a Dark Pact for this one. Then Strength 5, Toughness 4, 3s to wound. So just the 1 wound on a 4-up save. Will make it. So they will not be touched. And then we'll just do the 3 pistols for the Chaos Space Marines. And they're going to put 3 pistols into the 1 remaining infiltrator there. So 2 hits, 2 wounds at no AP. Will do no damage there. Basically, the only other shooting unit in the army right now that has line of sight to anybody is this unit. So the Legionnaires and the Lord are going to fire everything they've got into the Blade Guard squad, just trying to take them out, remove another threat. So I will be proccing a Dark Pact for sustained hits to ensure, or actually no, I'm going to go with lethal hits. And I'm going to use the ability of the Chaos Lord to target them with the Stratagem Profane Zeal. So reroll hit and wound since I'm Chaos Undivided. So all these are the bolt weaponry. 6s will go straight on through to wound. I'm gonna reroll the whole thing just to try to fish for some more 6s. Doesn't get me any more 6s, but c'est la vie. And then 4s to wound for a total of 8 wounds at their 3-up saves. So fail 2 of those. That will take the 1 wound Blade Guard off the board and leave me with a Blade Guard with 2 wounds remaining. Now we'll go to the Havoc Autocannon. 2 shots, 2 misses, thankfully re-rolling. That'll be 1 hit, 1 wound, or 1 to wound on a 2. Makes it. Minus 1 AP for the 4-up invuln save. Makes it there. So now we just have the Plasma Gunner. I will overcharge here. Both miss. 1 hit, 1 miss. And then on a 2. Makes it against his 4-up invuln. He will make it again. Do I take my hazardous? No, I don't. And then finally, the plasma pistol from the Lord on a 2. Then not overcharging, so on a 3. And then that is just going to be the regular plasma pistol. Just 1 damage, so the Blade Guard is left on 1 wound remaining. In the charge phase, I have been saving my CP for the Gladiator Valiant to overwatch the Mauler Fiend, and now is my chance for the Gladiator. It's going to overwatch the Mauler Fiend before it makes combat into them. So this will be 2 shots from the Twin Las Talon, re-rolling because it is still my Oath of Moment target. No hits there, and then the 4 multi shots. Hit twice. And then strength 10, toughness 10, so 4 is re-rolling. Make 1, fail 1. Alright, so just the 1. So we have a 5-up or die for the Mauler Fiend. And it looks like Mauler Fiend is going to finally get into close combat with the tank. For other chargers, the Accursed Cultists made it in with the 6 to these Infiltrators. We also made it in with the 4 remaining Warp Talons and the Demon Prince into the Hellblasters and Librarian. No stratagems are going to be used right now, so I am going to go with the Mauler Fiend into the Gladiator. I am going to make a Dark Pact here. For, let's see, we'll do sustained hits 1. So exploding 6s to hit. So 6 attacks from my fists on 4s. Ooh, alright, so those 2 will get me an additional hit, but those 3 will miss. Strength 14, toughness 10, so 3s to wound. And that'll be 5 wounds at minus 2 AP. So 5-up saves. Make 1, fail 4. This is going to be 4d6 plus 4 damage. I think it'll be the Valiant dead. So not close. So 6. 10, 14 wounds done on a 12 wound vehicle, so actually closer than you would expect, but does Boom go with Gladiator? It does not. And does the Mauler Fiend take any damage from his pact? He does not as well. So that is finally the Gladiator taken off in one fell swoop. Next up, I'm going to go with my other monster, the Demon Prince. I'm going to spend 1 CP on Epic Challenge so that his Hellforged weapon will get the precision ability. I'm going to put all of his attacks into the Librarian. So I'm going to do his sweep, so 14 attacks into a 1 wound Librarian. Hope is I'm able to kill him and then take away the invulnerable save, so that the rest of the squad of Hellblasters is taken down by the Warp Talons. I will also take a Dark Pact to try to get my lethal hits on 5 since I'm Mark of Khorne. So 14 attacks on 2s. 5s and 6s will go automatically through to wound. 2 misses, and then strength 8. Toughness 4, since I am Mark of Khorne. 2s to wound. So that will be all of them. So that'll be no AP for 1 damage. So I just need a single one of these to fail. And that is the Librarian taken out. And the Hellblasters made that much of an easier target. So, the Librarian is dead. I also did the 10 4-up mortal wounds, so doing full 5 mortal wounds to the Hellblasters, killed 2.5 of them from the special ability of the Demon Prince. So we will now go in to attack with the Warp Talons. 16 attacks, and I'll make a Dark Pact for lethal hits on 5s. So, ooh, wow, seems like almost all of my hits actually that. So all of those will automatically go through the wound. And then strength 5, toughness 4 for another one. So that is going to be AP minus 2. So 5 up saves. Make 3 of them, but that will be 1, 2, 3 more dead. So I have 3 died from that, and 2 died from the Demon Prince. So on 3-ups, they will get to fire as they die. So 3 of them will fire, and the 3 of them are going to fire into the Warp Talons. The shots from the destroyed Hellblasters were able to kill all but 1 of the Warp Talons out of that squad. So they are not going quietly, thankfully. And then the final attacks into the Ultramarines on Chargers are going to be the Accursed Cultists. We start with 14 attacks from the Hideous Mutations of the Torments. So we are going to have these be on 4s. And we'll take a Dark Pact for, let's do sustained hits 1. So we'll reroll our 1s since we are Chaos Undivided. And then we need 4 ups to hit, not 3 ups. But I see 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 hits out of 14 attacks on 4s are pretty good. Then strength 5, toughness 4, we use to wound. So that's 6, 8 wounds at minus 1 AP. These are 4-up saves. And each of those is 2 damage a time, so that is the squad of infiltrators wiped. Through the rest of the fight phase we go, and we have been able to completely destroy the Mark of Khorne Legionnaire squad on this No Man's Land objective. The 2 Hellblasters who are alive did not do anything to the Demon Prince. So, and all in all, looks like a pretty resounding success for the Chaos Space Marines in their turn 3. Don't think there's anything I can really do in this turn to counteract what they have on the board, but we'll see if maybe I can roll through turn 3 and do anything miraculous. So I'll do exactly that. I'll roll for all that off camera and then come back to you at the end of turn 3 for the Ultramarines with either a recap or a continuation. And here we are at the end of Battle Round 3 and at the end of the game. So, we were very successful over here in thinning down the Legionnaires. Not enough to where I think it's going to be a matter of life and death, but we were able to take a full 7 of them off after making them the Oath of Moment target and using the Primaris Captain's Finest Hour ability. This one infiltrator, since he does still have the grenade keyword and he passed, or doesn't need to take a battle shock test, he was able to kill the Mauler Fiend with exactly 2 mortal wounds from the grenades stratagem. However, unfortunately, with the Accursed Cultists over here holding 5 points, regular Cultists over here holding 2, Legionnaires back here holding 2, and the Demon Prince pretty reliably able to come over here, pick up a single infiltrator. I think we can call it a game there. So, definitely a show that while generally the game is less killy, when you have a matchup like this, it can still be a pretty good washout for one side or the other. So, that being said, hopefully you folks enjoyed the battle report. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Helps make sure my videos get seen by more people. And with that, I will see all of you folks on the next battlefield of the 41st Millennium.